Hey everybody, real quick, before we start, if you need a recap for part 1 of Season 4, I've got you covered. Just hit the tab in the upper right-hand corner. We'll start out Chapter 8 in Russia with Hopper, Joyce, Murray, Yuri, and Dmitri. They're trying to find a way out of the Russian prison. And they have to hurry, because the Demigorgon is quickly picking off Russian soldiers one by one. As Dmitri tries to bully one of the soldiers into giving them a way out, Joyce starts patching up Hopper, and she's telling him how much they missed him and also how much 11 needs him at the moment. But then the group hears a scream coming from behind a door, and it's not the Demigorgon that they were just fighting. It sounds like there's another one. They open the door, and sure enough, there's a Demigorgon strapped to a table, and it's been cut open, looking like it's been dissected, but it's not dead. They're in shock that the Russians had a second one, and Hopper quickly shoots it. But when he goes back farther behind the curtain, he realizes that there's a bigger issue. Because there wasn't just one extra Demigorgon, they're harvesting them. And it looks like the Russians also have a mini mind flare. But the group is able to locate a way out, and they leave all of that stuff back in the prison. Now they have to worry about getting back to the United States. Joyce and Murray let Hopper and Dmitri know that the plane they came in on crashed. They're going to have to find a new one. And Yuri is willing to help them out after a little negotiation with Hopper. But when Yuri directs them to a hangar, it's not another plane that he had, it's a helicopter. And everyone's concerned that this helicopter is not going to make the trip. And honestly, for their safety, they don't even want to take it. So Joyce brings up Owens, saying he's got to have contacts. Can we call him up? So Dmitri calls up the Russian operator, telling her that they'd like to place a call to the United States. There's a very sick relative. And then giving her the number. But in Russia, it works a little bit differently. In Russia, they make the call for you, and then they call you back. He also doesn't know how long it's going to take, but what he does know is you should assume that KGB is going to be listening, so you really should talk in code. They then just sit by the phone and wait for it to ring. But over with Joyce's kids, both Will and Jonathan, along with Argyle and Mike, are out to try to locate 11. During the drive, though, Mike is having a little bit of an issue. He's starting to think that maybe 11 doesn't need him, and he just got lucky because Superman arrived on his doorstep. To make him feel better, Will finally shows Mike the painting that he did. It's a pretty sweet painting of a Dungeons & Dragons battle where Mike is leading the group. Will tells him that 11 commissioned it, but you don't really know if she did or not. But the message that Will gives him is that it's Mike who holds the group together, because he has the most heart. And whether he wants to believe it or not, 11 also needs him. He explains that 11 is different, and when you're so different from everybody else, you end up feeling like a mistake. But Mike doesn't make her feel like a mistake. He makes her feel like she's perfect. This pep talk works. I mean, it really cheers up Mike, but it also makes Will cry, because, he's different. They then finally arrive at exactly where Susie's coordinates say Nina's going to be, but there's nothing out there. They start combing over the map again, trying to figure out if the coordinates are right or not. And that's when Argyle notices that while there's nothing out there that they see, there is a clue of humans being out in the middle of nowhere. It's these beefy tire tracks. And if they follow it, he's pretty sure they'll find what they're looking for. So the group follows the breadcrumbs. And while they're doing that, 11 is in the lab, just waking up from the coma that she slipped into when she found out the true backstory of the massacre at the lab. She just casually gets up from the table, and using her powers, she's able to pick up Nina, which is extremely difficult. She then sits down with Brenner, and he explains that what she showed that day was a potential he never thought was possible. But when he came upon her in that lab, she turned around, but then she quickly collapsed. And when she woke up from that coma, she had lost all memory of what happened, and also a little bit of the power that she found inside herself. The downside of what she did was that same day, she opened up the Upside Down. Brenner always figured that Henry was inside, but he never could know for sure. That's when Owens walks in and tells her that Henry's claimed 3 victims so far, and when he saw the eyes of the victims, he knew that it was Henry. All 11 cares about is her friends, and Brenner says, "I'm not going to lie to you, your friends are in danger." With each victim Henry takes, he's chiseling away at the barrier that exists between both worlds. And if he's able to get through, Hawkins is going to fall. All of this is a lot to handle for 11, so she walks out of the room. Using her powers, she goes to check on her friends, but she realizes that they are in danger. She rushes up to Owens and tells them, "My friends are not safe." and he tries to calm her down by telling her, we're not going to let anything happen to your friends. He then starts asking her where she saw her friends, and she tells him that it was at Max's house. So he says that he'll send some of his guys to pick up the kids and stop them from making a horrible mistake. Even though it's well-intentioned, it's probably not going to end well for them. But 11 says, no, don't send your guys, send me. Brenner interrupts both of them and says, 11, you're not ready. What you don't understand is, when Henry kills, he doesn't just kill, he consumes. The fact is, if he has survived this long, we can only assume that his strength has grown. You've done great so far. I mean, you came to me broken and you learned to walk again. But in order to beat Henry, you're going to need to do more than just walk. You'll need to fly. And right now, you're just not ready to do that. Even after this speech, 11 still wants to head back to Hawkins. And Owens jumps in and says, you know what? We've got connections. We can get her there by nightfall. This sparks a debate between Owens and Brenner, with Owens reminding Brenner that the agreement was this place was not going to be a prison. We agreed that it would be her choice whether she wants to stay or go, and she clearly wants to go. So whether you think she's ready or not, she's going. 11 then walks off to pack her things. Owens walks off to go call and make sure that he can get 11 a plane. But as he's talking to Ellen, who was his kind of second in command, the phone goes dead. And that's because Brenner has no intention of letting 11 out. A bunch of military types come in and sequester Owens. At the same time that Owens is being stopped, 11 is being trapped. Brenner tells 11 that Owens had a change of heart. And while he locked the door, he knows deep down there's nothing he can do that will stop her from just forcing it open. But he does warn her that if she does that, his men are ordered to kill Owens. He tells her that they're going to complete the work together, and when she's ready, they will then return to Hawkins. They then start getting in an argument about how Brenner treated 11's mother, and about how everything Brenner's done has been for her own good. That morphs into an argument about his relationship with Henry, and 11 blaming Brenner for everything that's transpired. All those deaths, she feels like, was because Brenner couldn't stop looking for Henry. This argument ends with 11 telling Brenner, I'm going to leave and I'm taking Dr. Owens with me. And if you try and stop me, I'm going to kill you. She goes to do just that, and she is able to open the door, but right as she does so, Brenner stabs her in the neck with a syringe, and it ends up knocking her out. When she awakes, she has a collar around her neck, and it appears to be a bomb. Or maybe it's something that takes away her powers, but Brenner tells her, I don't want to activate it. I just hope our fighting has come to an end. He then, however, starts hearing sirens, because Colonel Sullivan has arrived with a bunch of his men, and they are out for blood, specifically 11's. They blow open the door. A gunfight starts taking place, and Brenner knows that he has to get 11 to safety. So he starts carrying her out as the war rages on. The only thing Sullivan finds when he starts searching the facility is Owens, who's chained up. And as Sullivan is questioning Owens on the whereabouts of 11, Brenner is carrying her outside, but he ends up getting shot because Sullivan had a few snipers in a helicopter. Even though he's shot, though, he continues to try to get 11 to safety until finally he's shot one too many times and he falls to the ground. The sniper has 11 dead to rights, but he radios to Sullivan to ask if he's got the okay to shoot her. Owens, who overhears this, tries to save 11's life by saying, I can contain her, I can knock her out, we don't have to do this, but Sullivan still gives the okay to fire. When the sniper goes to do that, though, he sees 11 standing up, and she's using her powers to take down the helicopter. She completely destroys it, throwing it to the ground where it explodes. As she's overlooking the destruction, Jonathan, Argyle, Mike, and Will show up just in the nick of time, and they realize they need to get out of there ASAP. Before they do that, though, 11 and Mike have to have the emotional, oh my god, I can't believe you're here. Yeah, I'm here, I can't believe you're alive. But right as they're about to leave, 11's collar unlocks, and she remembers that there's one person she has to say goodbye to. It's Brenner. She walks over and sees Brenner, who is on death's door. And his last words are to tell her how proud of her he is. How she is his family, and he's only ever wanted what's best for her. She doesn't forgive him, but she does say, goodbye, Papa. And then she gets in the van and they head off, just as Sullivan is making his way up to ground. When she gets in the van, she tells the group, we have to go back to Hawkins, which is quite the journey. They don't really get the severity of the issue, so she tells them if we don't get back, everybody is going to die. And it's true. Hawkins is on a collision course for destruction, but that's because of Vecna. Nancy was able to get out of Vecna's upside down, but that's only because Vecna allowed her to leave. Vecna gave her a look into the future, telling her, I want you to show this to 11. And the future is really bleak. She sits down and tells the group exactly what Vecna showed her. But one of the things that he showed her was 4 gates. But what makes these gates different is they didn't stop growing. That's when Max mentions that Vecna's clock always chimes 4 times. And the murders that he's been doing haven't been by accident. They've been to open up those gates. He's already opened up 3, and Max was supposed to be the 4th. So they start thinking of what they're going to do, and the only idea Nancy can come up with is going back to the Upside Down, which nobody wants to do. But she tells them that the first time they went, they were ill-prepared. If they can get weapons and protection, they can just go, track down Vecna, and kill him. But Robin tells the group that that's really stupid because Vecna is like 11, but the difference is he likes to kill kids and he's super powerful. He's also not scared of them at all. Even if they go in, it's not a fair fight. But Dustin says, then why fight fair? Because if he is like 11, it gives them the upper hand. 11 would go in that trance-like state to go find people, but it would leave her body completely exposed. So if he's like 11, he would do the same thing, and he probably does it in the attic. Dustin figures that when he attacks his next victim, he's back in the attic completely defenseless. And Max points out that they know who his next victim is going to be. It's going to be Max. She feels like she's marked, and she's had Kate Bush on this entire time. But if she turns Kate Bush off, Vecna's going to come calling. All she needs to do is keep Vecna busy enough to let them in the attic, and then they just chop his head off or something. Great plan, but in order to do that, they're going to need weapons, and there's one place around that you can get a lot of weapons. The War Zone. Army, Navy, surplus. It's where Rambo would have went. The issue is the War Zone is pretty far away, and they don't have a car. But Eddie says, don't worry about that. We don't need a car. He has the group sneak into a nearby trailer. They hotwire it, and they take off. On the ride over, Nancy and Steve have a nice conversation about Steve's dream life, which, yeah, kind of figure that Nancy might be involved with that. In the back, Max is talking to Lucas, and she explains how Vecna uses her memories against her, so her plan is to run in the complete opposite direction. Don't look at the dark memories, look at the good memories. And that memory does have to do with Lucas. They get to the Army-Navy store. Steve, Robin, Erica, Max, Nancy, they all head in, and they start gearing up. While they're doing that, though, Robin notices the girl from band, the same girl that she has a crush on. Robin was really worried about hitting on this girl because it would reveal that she's a lesbian. Well, it's a good thing she didn't, because it turns out this girl has a boyfriend, and that really puts Robin in a bad mood. But while Robin's getting her heart broken, Nancy is buying a shotgun. She's not the only one who's buying a gun, though, because so is Jason. And Jason looks like he's in a really bad mental state. Jason appears to be loading up for his own kind of war. I have a feeling that Jason might have been definitely busy on January 6, 2021. He starts questioning Nancy on the whereabouts of Mike, until finally Nancy has to yell at him to get away. The group then quickly purchase their items, get back in the mobile home, and take off before Jason and his douche crew can get to him. They head to an empty field and start preparing for battle. Sawing off shotguns, putting nails through trash can lids. And then after that, there's only one stop left to go. Victor Creel's old house. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.